Okay, Nolan. Looked at all the swings on film. This was your best one, and the way you swing, Ian, is actually the perfect comp. And I put a line on each of your back foot going straight up. I worked really hard to try to get it as straight as I could because the one thing that we've talked about is making sure that on our negative movement that we don't get any of our weight outside of our back foot. If we get that any of our weight outside of our back foot, we're getting into our leg more than into our back hip. So as you watch your negative movement here, you're kind of right on the edge of getting outside your back foot. Watched a couple before that, you got a little bit more back. This one you did the best job on, and as a result, I thought that you got the best extension through the ball. I thought your direction was the best. But just for comparison's sake, to really illustrate, how you can get that negative movement but feel your hip load more than getting a little bit into your leg. If you watch Ian on the right here, okay, as he gets into his negative movement, you can see how he's really focused on the hip pinch that you see into right there. See how he stays well inside that line? If I used the two before this, you actually go pretty far back behind your foot. There you're kind of right on the edge. I don't want to hit clear to get rid of that arrow because then I'll get rid of the lines. But again, if you just kind of watch, I can't sync them because of the different frame rates. But your negative movement, a little more into your leg. Ian's negative movement, a little bit more into his back hip. And so you can see it's a little bit stuck on your back leg. This was by far your best one. You can see where your front foot is, and this was the best job you did as far as minimizing how much it goes back and how little your back knee came in early. It's just a little bit there. And as a result, you stay connected real good, like the way your hands are on top of each other there. And you got pretty good length through that ball. That was by far your best swing of the ones that I watched. So again, if we could get more into our hip and not quite go so far back to where you're kind of just borderline right outside of your foot. Again, seeing Ian, let's take him to where he starts right there. You can see how he's really staying inside his back foot. And let's get him back to there. And comparing how your weight stays back just a little bit to toe strike there. And you can see Ian's foot at the bottom, how he carries a little bit more weight. And his foot goes straight into the ground as the frame rate jumps, but he's at toe touch somewhere between there and there. So just again, slight, and this was again, definitely your best. I thought your other ones you sat back a little bit more, but you can see how with Ian it really helps him get a little bit more length through. You have a little bit more of a slightly around path, where I know the frame rate stinks because I had to upload this from my phone, but he just gets a little bit more longer through. So real fine tune, and I'm sorry this one took a while, but it's one of those ones that really takes a lot to explain. And I know we've talked about it before. So when I do my negative movement, and definitely don't do this in a game because it's going to throw off your timing, but just think I'm getting into my back hip, not my back leg, and I'm going to get my back side just a little bit more into my front side to create just a little bit better rotational direction to the ball. And as you get a little bit more of that hip drive, you're going to get even more power. So again, seeing Ian's negative movement, staying inside that line, into his back hip right there, and then consistently going forward into the ground to get just a little bit more direction through. But, real close, and that's something more long-term rather than short-term as you're playing games. But I was really encouraged as I watched the first couple. Your back hip got kind of far outside of your back foot, but it was really good to see this one where it barely got outside of your back foot, and just keep working on. I'm going forward into the ground where you get just a little bit up, and you can see your foot just come back a little bit with a little early rotation, ever so slightly around. Whereas Ian, real good. Yeah, that's that. I'm back, and then I'm sinking into that back hip load right there, and then continually going forward and into the ground to really get that length through the ball.